Every single medicine we take goes through years and years of super rigorous testing. But what happens after it gets that final stamp of approval? Well, that's when the real-world test begins, and it involves millions of us. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden signals, the really crucial detective work that protects our health long after we've picked up a prescription. So let's picture this. A brand new, really promising drug hits the market. It's approved, and millions of people start using it. But somewhere in that huge population, some rare, completely unexpected side effects can start to pop up. Things that just never showed up in the clinical trials. So how do we spot them? How do we connect the dots before it's too late? That's the big question we're diving into.
All right, so where does this medical detective work actually start? Well, a lot of the time, it begins with one of the most fundamental tools in medicine, the case series. Think of it as the first step investigators take when they suspect a new danger might be out there. It's all about spotting a pattern.
At its heart, a case series is really just a collection of stories. What researchers do is find a group of patients who all have something important in common. Maybe they all took the same new medication, or maybe they all developed a similar, kind of unusual symptom. The key thing to remember here is that it's purely observational. There are no experiments, and there's no control group to compare against. It's just about recognizing that a pattern might be forming.
And that's exactly where its power lies. I mean, think about it. One single patient reporting a strange side effect. That could just be a coincidence, right? It's just an anecdote. But when you start gathering a series of these reports, that single anecdote starts to look a whole lot like evidence. It becomes our first real alert system for new medicines, helping us spot and even begin to measure potential safety problems right out of the gate.
Now, of course, it's not a perfect tool. A case series is incredibly powerful for generating a strong hypothesis, a really good educated guess. It's fantastic at raising that first alarm, especially for super rare side effects. But here's the crucial weakness. It can't prove that the drug caused the problem. Without a control group to compare it to, you just can't establish that definitive cause and effect link. It's designed to find the smoke, which then tells other researchers where to go looking for the fire.
To really understand just how powerful this simple tool can be, we have to look at one of the most tragic examples in all of medical history, the story of thalidomide. So, back in the early 1960s, thalidomide was seen as this amazing wonder drug. It was marketed as being incredibly safe, and doctors widely prescribed it to pregnant women to help with morning sickness. On the surface, it seemed like a perfect, totally harmless solution.
But then, doctors on the front lines started noticing something absolutely horrifying. Individual physicians in totally different places all began seeing this sudden spike in newborns with severe and very unusual birth defects, specifically something called phocomelia, where limbs are severely malformed. On their own, each one was an isolated tragedy, but when you put them all together, they formed a case series. And the key word here is cluster. That's the signal. That's the pattern. This cluster emerging from all these individual tragedies created a powerful, undeniable suspicion, because the one thing that connected all of these mothers was their use of thalidomide.
The impact was immediate, and it was permanent. This case series set off a global crisis that completely, totally revolutionized how we test, approve, and monitor drugs. It led directly to the strong, robust drug safety regulations that we all rely on today, and it all started from a simple series of observations.
Okay, so a case series is a fantastic reactive tool for spotting rare disasters. But what about proactively understanding how medicine is used day to day across an entire country? For that, we turn to a different but just as important tool, the Drug Use Survey.
A drug use survey does pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a big, broad look at how medicines are actually being used out in the real world. It's not about hunting for a single rare side effect, but about mapping the entire landscape of how we prescribe and take our medicines.
And the insights you can get from these surveys are pretty incredible. They can show you if doctors in one part of the country are prescribing way more antibiotics than in another, or if a certain medicine is being used, well, irrationally by a specific age group. They uncover these huge nationwide trends and can highlight major gaps in education, giving officials the data they need to build better health policy for everyone.
Now, while the idea is pretty simple, actually gathering this kind of nationwide data is a massive, massive job. In the real world, collecting all this information can be incredibly difficult, and a specific example really makes this clear.
In India, for instance, the demand for this kind of research is huge, but the obstacles are pretty significant. You've got a lack of centralized databases,
no single coordinated survey system, and a whole lot of local pharmacies that still aren't computerized. Trying to piece together a clear national picture is just incredibly tough. It's a powerful reminder that getting good data really depends on having good infrastructure in place.
So we've looked at two different tools, one that reacts to danger by looking at these small clusters, and another that proactively maps our habits across entire populations. So what's the big takeaway here?
At the end of the day, the crucial point is this. Despite any limitations they might have, these simple, observational methods are truly the backbone of drug safety. They are our eyes and ears on the ground. From that first doctor who notices a disturbing pattern to a survey that uncovers a national trend, it's the power of careful observation that ultimately keeps us all safe.
And that leaves us with a final thought. We live in this incredible age of artificial intelligence and massive datasets. But as we've seen today, sometimes the most profound, world-changing discoveries begin with the simplest human act, just observing and connecting the dots. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other life-saving insights are hiding out there in plain sight, just waiting for someone to notice?